Welcome to the Purely Prabhupada YouTube channel. This video series is called Reality Distinguished from Illusion for the Welfare of All. My name is Kamra Devi Dasi, and I am a disciple of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This is the 13th video of the series, and it's called Happiness and Our Quota. The United States Declaration of Independence speaks of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Declaration states that these are rights given by God and should be protected by the government. It's not a legal statement, but it's put forward to inspire what was seen by the Founding Fathers, especially Thomas Jefferson, as the basis of good government. So the pursuit of happiness is obviously not a guarantee of happiness. And so I had the great fortune growing up of having some deep realizations early on that saved me a lot of complexities moving forward into adult life. So when I was growing up, I had a deep love of music. I liked to go hear live bands. I had a huge collection of recorded music. And I would look at different sound systems. And I realized that no matter how big a sound system I had, no matter how powerful it was, I would always be wanting something better. It was the same for horses. I dreamed of having a very large stable with representatives of many breeds for different purposes of enjoyment. Warm bloods for jumping and eventing, calmer horses for trail rides, gated breeds for, just showing off maybe. But with both the music and the horses, I saw that the desires would ultimately be insatiable, and they'd be ever increasing, no matter how much I pursued them. It actually was a very frightening prospect, always thinking, I'll be wanting more, I'll be wanting better, I'll be wanting bigger. So I was blessed that I had this awareness before I went on the path of trying to achieve happiness in the accumulation of material pleasures. Real happiness is only attainable by reawakening our love of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And by the Lord's mercy, this was the path I was able to pursue. We have to look at some things. Why are some people born into wealthy homes? Why are some people born into poverty-stricken homes? Why do some people naturally achieve more than others on the material plane? This is all determined by the laws of material nature according to the reactions of our actions in previous births, our desires, and where the Lord wants to place us for our own spiritual benefit and ultimately for serving His own purposes. For a person of limited means to artificially strive for more opulence creates disharmony and dishonesty, and it is said that greed is the root of all evil. That was the actual better translation. It wasn't money is the root of all evil. I think that came from Paul. It may have served him well, I don't know. But the actual translation is more appropriately, greed is the root of all evil. For a person of great means to artificially renounce that opulent standard of living is also disharmonious. We're all endowed differently, and to learn to gracefully accept what could be called our quota makes for a relatively peaceful existence that would put us in a position to be free from the envy of someone else's wealth and their possessions. It's when we artificially try to live outside our means that we create artificial anxiety for ourselves and for others. I've known several wealthy people, and they would be no more comfortable living in my humble conditions than I would be trying to live their lifestyle. If you take away the wealth of a rich person, they wouldn't be able to continue to live. And if wealth is bestowed upon someone who is not destined to have it, it will be gone very quickly. So nothing is out of order. Nothing is negative in the plan of the Lord. This world is meant to purify us so that we can return to the spiritual abode. God's arrangement is perfect for each of us, and it's all for our good. We have to remember that none of us really own anything. God is the proprietor of all things. One of the wonderful transcendental literatures that Srila Prabhupada gave to us is Sri Upanishad. It's a small book, and it's loaded. This literature is very important in that it introduces the Supreme Lord as the person that he is and guides us away from the impersonalism that pervades the most of religious thinking today. It's an excellent reading choice for those who are beginning on the path of bhakti yoga or devotional service to God. The first mantra of Sri Upanishad is, everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. And Prabhupada gives wonderful purport to this verse. Vedic knowledge is infallible. I'm just reading this from his book. Vedic knowledge is infallible because it comes down through the perfect disciplic succession of spiritual masters, beginning with the Lord himself. Since he spoke the first word of Vedic knowledge, the source of this knowledge is transcendental. The words spoken by the Lord are called apaurushaya, which indicates that they are not delivered by any mundane person. A living being in the mundane world has 4 defects. 1, he is certain to commit mistakes. 2, he is subject to illusion. 3, he has a propensity to cheat others. 4, his senses are imperfect. No one with these 4 imperfections can deliver perfect knowledge. The Vedas are not produced by such an imperfect creature. Vedic knowledge was originally imparted by the Lord into the heart of Brahma, the first created living being, and Brahma, in his turn, disseminated this knowledge to his sons and disciples, who have handed it down through history. Since the Lord is Purnam, all perfect, there is no possibility of his being subjected to the laws of material nature, which he controls. However, both the living entities and inanimate objects are controlled by the laws of nature and ultimately by the Lord's potency. This Isopanishad is part of the Yajur Veda, and consequently it contains information concerning the proprietorship of all things existing within the universe. The Lord's proprietorship over everything within the universe is confirmed in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. 7th chapter Bhagavad Gita, texts 4 and 5, where para and apara prakriti are discussed. The elements of nature, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego, all belong to the Lord's inferior material energy, whereas the living being, the organic energy, is his superior energy. Both of these prakritis, or energies, are emanations from the Lord, and ultimately He is the controller of everything that exists. There is nothing in the universe that does not belong to either the para or apara prakriti. Therefore, everything is the property of the Supreme Being. So again, para prakriti is the Lord's superior energy, and the material energy is apara prakriti. And Prabhupada explains, to repeat that sentence, there is nothing in the universe that does not belong to either the para or the apara prakriti. Therefore, everything is the property of the Supreme Being. Because the Supreme Being, the absolute personality of Godhead, is the complete person, He has complete and perfect intelligence to adjust everything by means of His different potencies. The Supreme Being is often compared to a fire, and everything organic and inorganic is compared to the heat and light of the fire. Just as fire distributes energy in the form of heat and light, the Lord displays His energy in different ways. He thus remains the ultimate controller, sustainer, and dictator of everything. He is the possessor of all potencies, the knower of everything, and the benefactor of everyone. He is full of inconceivable opulence, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that except for the Lord, no one is a proprietor of anything. One should accept only those things that are set aside by the Lord as His quota. The cow, for instance, gives milk, but she does not drink that milk. She eats grass and straw, and her milk is designated as food for human beings. Such is the arrangement of the Lord. Thus, we should be satisfied with those things He has kindly set aside for us, and we should always consider to whom those things we possess actually belong. Take, for example, our dwelling, which is made of earth, wood, stone, iron, cement, and so many other material things. If we think in terms of Sri Upanishad, we must know that we cannot produce any of these building materials ourselves. We can simply bring them together and transform them into different shapes by our labor. A laborer cannot claim to be a proprietor of a thing just because he has worked hard to manufacture it. I'm going to continue reading what Prabhupada wrote here because it's so powerful and addresses so many issues that we're facing as a modern society. So he wrote, in modern society, there is always a great quarrel between the laborers and the capitalists. This quarrel has taken an international shape, and the world is in danger. Men face one another in enmity and snarl just like cats and dogs. Sri Upanishad cannot give advice to the cats and dogs, but it can deliver the message of Godhead to man through the bona fide acharyas, or holy teachers. The human race should take the Vedic wisdom of Sri Upanishad and not quarrel over material possessions. One must be satisfied with whatever privileges are given to him by the mercy of the Lord. There can be no peace if the communists or capitalists or any other party claims proprietorship over the resources of nature, which are entirely the property of the Lord. The capitalists cannot curb the communists simply by political maneuvering, nor can the communists defeat the capitalists simply by fighting for stolen bread. If they do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the property they claim to be their own is stolen. Consequently, they will be liable to punishment by the laws of nature. Nuclear bombs are in the hands of both communists and capitalists, and if both do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Lord, it is certain that these bombs will ultimately ruin both parties. Thus, in order to save themselves and bring peace to the world, both parties must follow the instructions of Sri Upanishad. Human beings are not meant to quarrel like cats and dogs. They must be intelligent enough to realize the importance and aim of human life. The Vedic literature is meant for humanity and not for cats and dogs. Cats and dogs can kill other animals for food without incurring sin. But if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste buds, he is responsible for breaking the laws of nature. Consequently, he must be punished. The standard of life for human beings cannot be applied to animals. The tiger does not eat rice and wheat and drink cow's milk because he has been given food in the shape of animal flesh. Among the many animals and birds, some are vegetarian and others are carnivorous, but none of them transgress the laws of nature which have been ordained by the will of the Lord. Animals, birds, reptiles, and other lower life forms strictly adhere to the laws of nature. Therefore, there is no question of sin for them, nor are the Vedic instructions meant for them. Human life alone is a life of responsibility. It is wrong, however, to think that simply by becoming a vegetarian one can avoid transgressing the laws of nature. Vegetables also have life, and while it is nature's law that one living being is meant to feed on another, for human beings the point is to recognize the Supreme Lord. Thus one should not be proud of being a strict vegetarian. Animals do not have developed consciousness by which to recognize the Lord, but a human being is sufficiently intelligent to take lessons from the Vedic literature and thereby know how the laws of nature are working and derive profit out of such knowledge. If a man neglects the instructions of the Vedic literature, his life becomes very risky. A human being is therefore required to recognize the authority of the Supreme Lord and become his devotee. He must offer everything for the Lord's service and partake only of the remnants of food offered to the Lord. This will enable him to discharge his duty properly. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 26, the Lord directly states that he accepts vegetarian food from the hands of a pure devotee. Therefore, a human being should not only become a strict vegetarian, but should also become a devotee of the Lord, offer the Lord all his food, and then partake of such prasadam, or the mercy of God. Those who act in this way can properly discharge the duties of human life. Those who do not offer their food to the Lord eat nothing but sin and subject themselves to various types of distress, which are the results of sin. And that is from Bhagavad Gita, as it is, chapter 3, text 13. The root of sin is deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. Disobeying the laws of nature or the order of the Lord brings ruin to a human being. Conversely, one who is sober, who knows the laws of nature, and who is not influenced by unnecessary attachment or aversion, is sure to be recognized by the Lord, and thus becomes eligible to go back to Godhead, back to the eternal home. Thank you very much for listening. Please chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. These books that we've described here are available at purelyprabhupada.com.
If you are interested in the subject matter of this video and would like to learn more, please visit purelyprabhupada.com. Ancient truths for the upliftment of the modern world.